What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chuds BBQ. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how I made this beautiful, delicious, smoky, juicy, dippy smoked roast beef and French dip sandwich. Coming up! With the weather starting to cool off, it's got me craving some different foods, one of which has got to be the French dip sandwich. If you've never had one before, it's essentially a roast beef sandwich on a French roll that is served with the jus, which is basically a really flavorful beef broth. And then, of course, you take the sandwich, you dip it into the broth, and you get this wonderful, warm, delicious, savory bite. But as you know, this is a barbecue channel, so today we're going to be making some French dip sandwiches with a little bit of smoke, and it is going to be delicious. These are some bottom rounds. And to see what I did to these, let's head to last night. Ooh. And as you can see right out of the packaging, these are some beautiful looking cuts, nicely tied up, nice and clean, ready to go. And you can use pretty much whatever cuts you want for making roast beef. Anything from an eye round all the way up through a ribeye is gonna be really good. And this bottom round is a really great choice because as you can see, we've still got some pretty good marbling. You know, it's not bottom of the barrel, it's also not top end, but it's got this really nice fat cap on it. And especially for my needs on a home-sized slicer, this will fit really nicely and give us some really nice, beautiful shavings. Not to mention, they're dry aged. Can't go wrong. So, first things first, we are going to give these a dry brine, which is just a fancy term meaning we're going to season these the night beforehand. That way the salt will penetrate much deeper into the meat, giving us flavor all the way throughout as opposed to just on the surface. This is a great tip for steaks or any roast you're doing if you have the foresight to remember to do it. Basically what's going to happen is the salt is going to pull moisture out of the meat, which is then going to dissolve all the salt on the exterior, creating a super concentrated brine, which will then seep its way back into the meat through osmosis, giving us nice seasoning all the way throughout instead of a really salty exterior and a really bland interior. We're just going to cover this on all sides pretty liberally with kosher salt. It's a big piece of meat. It can take quite a bit of salt. And we're going to pop these on a wire rack in our fridge overnight, uncovered, to let that salt do its thing. And we will check back in the morning. And as you can see, that dry brine did its job. These bottom rounds are looking real nice. They got a really nice deep red color to them. They firmed up a bit. And as you can see, there's no visible salt left on there, which means you know it went right into the meat, which is exactly what we want. Beautiful looking cut, nice and clean. And if you want to know where to get these, you can go to the sponsor of this week's video, Porter Road. Porter Road is an online butcher shop that specializes in high-end chicken, lamb, pork, and beef. And that's a real reason I wanted to make this sandwich, is because all of their beef is dry aged for a minimum of 14 days, giving it that really nice, rich flavor, color, and everything is also hand cut to be perfect. As you can see, these are some beautiful looking roasts, come pre-tied up, nicely trimmed. It really makes life easy for me. All the meat is super high quality, and everything I've had from them has been absolutely fantastic. Not to mention, it ships right to my door. If you haven't bought meat online before, I definitely recommend it because you can go online and choose the exact cuts that you want. And not just all the regular cuts. They have a lot of these offcuts, the butcher cuts, that you don't see in your supermarkets all the time, like hanger steaks or pork briskets, lamb ribs. A lot of these unique cuts that I've cooked on the channel have come from Porter Road. It's also a great peace of mind to know that all of this meat that I'm getting from Porter Road is cage-free, comes from respectable ranchers and farmers around the United States, and these animals are treated well. So if you're looking to get some high-quality meat shipped right to your door, head over to porterroad.com using the link in the video description to save 15% off. Again, click the link in the description of this video taking you to porterroad.com to get 15% off your order. And also, all orders over $100 ships for free. Thank you, Porter Road. But before we get these cooked off, let's go ahead and get our jus started. Another thing Porter Road carries that you may not be able to find, beautiful beef marrow bones. And if you've never had beef marrow before, definitely recommend giving it a try. But today, we're gonna use these to make our own beef stock. But first, let's fire up the pit. Now that this thing is up to temp, let's go ahead and throw on all of our veg and bones. We're going with the classic suspects here. Onions, carrots, celery, and some bones. And it does seem like a shame to not scoop out that marrow and eat it, which I probably will do. But it's just gonna make our jus even better. I also got another couple of bones that have been in my freezer for a while. Throw those on there as well. Just gonna roast these off for about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes or so, get some color on them. Now that we got some nice color on the veg, we're gonna go into this big old stock pot. Ooh, yes please. All about building those layers of flavor. And of course, in with our beautiful bones. Oh no, what happened to all the bone marrow? It was delicious. You know the drill from here, folks. We're gonna top this off with water, bring it up to a simmer, and let it cook away for the next few hours to pull all of that wonderful flavor and nutrients out of those bones and that veg, and we will be left with a beautiful, flavorful stock. This stock has been simmering away for the last few hours. I've topped it off a few different times just to make sure it doesn't burn down too low, because you don't want anything to burn to the bottom. I've also thrown in a few more ingredients throughout the day. I've been cleaning out the kitchen and the freezer. Found some old thyme sprigs, a sprig of rosemary, a couple bay leaves, some garlic that wasn't looking too fresh. Then I made some chicken wings for dinner not too long ago, so I threw all the wing tips in here. But it just goes to show you that you can really throw whatever you want into a stock. It's just gonna add more flavor, more gelatin, and be absolutely fantastic. But for now, let's go ahead and get that beef ready. So because this meat is so tacky and dry from the dry brine, we're gonna go ahead and throw a little bit of oil on there. I really like to use this white truffle oil. This stuff is great. And if you're gonna use an oil, you might as well use something with a little bit of flavor to it. Works great on steaks as well. Almost out. So we're gonna get that on there, and then we're gonna go ahead and rub it until it becomes nice and opaque, really tacky. That's really gonna help the pepper and the garlic stick to it, or whatever other rubs you plan on throwing on your roast beef. Because again, you can do whatever you want. You could herb crust this thing, you could leave it as is. But as you can see, if you really rub it on there pretty vigorously, it gets this nice opaque color to it, which is really going to help all the seasonings stick without having a thick layer of oil that's just going to drip off taking seasonings with it. So now I'm just going to go on with some 16 mashed black pepper and a little bit of garlic powder as well. Oh, beautiful. We're just going to get this covered on all sides. Just another layer of flavor. And of course, hit the fat cap. I must say, I really do love how perfectly symmetrical and nicely trimmed up these roasts are. Looking good. And as always, never forget the sides. Beautiful. Let's throw them on the pit. Got this pit up to about 275 degrees. We're just gonna smoke these bad Larrys until they are nice and medium rare. Fat cap up, we'll check back in. Ooh, there's a snake in my boot. After about an hour and a half, we are rocking a solid 125 internal, slowly creeping its way up, so we should be able to get a beautiful medium rare out of this, and it is looking quite tasty and smelling fantastic. So, I'm gonna pull these off and let them rest for just a little bit. Ooh, what a beaut. Now that these have cooled down a little bit, I'm gonna pop them into a plastic bag, which is just gonna help kind of condense that smoky flavor. I'm gonna pop this into the fridge to chill it down so we can get some really nice slices. And now all there's left to do is strain this stock, and we'll be ready to make some beautiful French dips. Now that everything is nice and chilled, it's time to go ahead and get this stuff sliced up. And also, this definitely doesn't need to be a 3-day process. I could have easily got this done in a few hours, but it's been a hectic week. And you can always, not make your own roast beef or not make your own stock, and this sandwich could come together real quick. But strings removed. Don't forget that step. And now it's time to start slicing. And the beauty of making your own roast beef is you can make it as thick or as thin as you like. I'm gonna go as thin as possible. Oh, beautiful. That's what we're talking about, folks. Nice and paper thin, the way it ought to be. Oh yeah, very tender. Nice and smoky. Oh, that is good. And there we have it, folks. A beautiful pile of smoky roast beef. Beautiful medium rare on there. Nice amount of little fat cap. Very thin, incredibly tender, pulls right apart. It tastes amazing. Nice and smoky. That dry aged flavor really comes through. Perfectly seasoned. We've got our roast beef, we've got our bread, we've got our cheese, we've got our mustard, and this is our stock from yesterday that I've reduced down to just about a quart or so, and it is smelling fantastic, nice and beefy. But to take it one step further and really enhance that beefiness, I'm gonna go in with some of this stuff. This is a packet of beef demi-glace, which should really add some wonderful beefy flavors to this stock, turning it a little bit more from a stock into a jus. To assemble our French dip sandwich, we're starting out with a nice loaf of French bread, and that is why it's called the French dip, because it's French bread, not because it's made in France. I popped this in the oven for just a minute to kind of crust it back up, warm it through. Oh, look at that, beautiful. It was actually invented in LA at a place called Philippe's, the original. And they are known for their spicy mustard that they make in-house, which has got a really nice horseradishy kick to it that apparently goes really well on a French dip sandwich. So I ordered some of this from them, and that's what we're gonna start out with on our bun. Because who doesn't love mustard on a beef sandwich? Come on, looking good. And now for the beef. Because our beef is cold, we're gonna start out by putting it right into the jus. Just a big pile of beautiful roast beef. Can I call it roast beef even though it's smoked beef? And again, this jus here is piping hot, so that's gonna help heat up the meat while adding some wonderful flavor to the meat and adding more flavor to the jus itself. So let that sit for just a second or two to kind of warm up, soak up some of that flavor, and then on to the sandwich it goes. And at Philippe's, they also dunk their bread into the jus, but I don't have a pot wide enough for that. So by dunking the meat itself, it's gonna carry a little extra juice onto the old bun here, which I think should work out just fine. Oh man, that is smelling fantastic, folks. I tell you what. Nice dry aged beef, homemade beef stock full of veg, bone marrow on a beautiful bun, spicy mustard. Really can't go wrong with a sandwich like this. Now there are different options. You can go just meat and bread, you can go meat, bread, mustard, but a lot of people love to put a little provolone cheese on there, and that sounds pretty tasty to me. So on we go with a few slices of beautiful provolone cheese. And of course we're gonna melt it with a torch. Oh yes, please. Some people put onions and other stuff on there too, but this is what we're gonna do today. Come on, tell me that doesn't look amazing. Complete with our top bun. And there we have a beautiful, nice and wet French dip sandwich. Let's go ahead and cut this in half. Oh, ooh, looking real tasty, folks. Melty cheese, flavorful juice, wonderful mustard. I think it's time to dive in. That's why you want a nice crusty bread to begin with, folks, so it doesn't get too soft with all that juice in there. Give the old dip for the namesake, shall we? Oh, wow. Oh, man, that mustard is perfect. That's spectacular. Glad my face is out of frame because I am covered in jus right now. The cheese, the mustard, the juiciness. I know it looks pretty bread heavy, but this bread is really squishy, so it fits in the mouth nicely. Really makes it with the mustard. Nothing to complain about there, folks. Good Lord. That is truly amazing. Bit messy, totally worth it. The smoke is a really nice touch on there, too. It's not overpowering or anything like that, but, man, that demi really made a difference in this broth. I mean, what more do you need in a sandwich than that, folks? Beep, beep, beep. Why don't I do this more often? That truly is a sandwich that is greater than the sum of its parts. It's a classic for a reason. Want a little dip?
Okay.
Clinkies. Beep.
Oh, there's mustard in there. Yeah, I just got that. I need a bib. I shouldn't have done this in my work clothes.
What do you think?
Delicious. I like the mustard.
They're the supposed originator
of
the French dip. I like it though. I mean, it's such a simple sandwich.
Yeah, I could eat that whole thing. That's freaking delish. Yeah, I mean, it's basically gravy, right?
I was gonna say, it's very thick from all the gelatin from the bone, so it's very, very much gravy-like.
So not vegan.
No.
Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely. Come here, shockingly still thin dog. All right, y'all, and that is it. That is how to make probably one of the best sandwiches I have ever made. And again, you don't have to do all those steps that I did. You don't have to make your own roast beef or your own stock. You can easily just buy some canned jus or one of those packet mixes or something and put this together pretty quick. But there is something fun about going the extra mile and really making it your own. And I highly recommend it. But if you enjoyed this video, please let me know by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like on the video. It really helps a lot. If you do give this recipe a try for yourself, be sure to tag me on Instagram at Chuds BBQ. I love to see what y'all are cooking. Let me know in the comments below what you want to see me cook next. Huge shout out to all the Patreon members. Thank you for supporting Team Chud. And until the next time I see you, please go cook something outside. Peace.